Taste of paradise, so won't you come with me? Feel the sunshine on my soul and set me free. I've had enough of gray skies, I've had enough
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Thank you for being here. It's Tuesday, drum day, food day, all day. All right. Anyway, it's good to be back. Just came back from a rock camp with, he fixed it, the hum. And we did a rock camp in Florida with Joe Perry. Joe Perry from Aerosmith, Tico Torres from Bon Jovi, and Vernon Reid from Living Colour. And it was really cool. And had a couple of little issues, like Joe Perry arriving 3 hours late. You know why? Because it wasn't his fault. It was very windy. It's like Florida storm time, you know. You know, Florida, it's like sunny, and then half an hour later, the storm's coming in. And it was really windy. You could see all the palm trees blowing and coconuts falling off the tree, you know, sitting on the beach. Little coconuts. Then all of a sudden, the sand starts blowing. Coconuts start falling on your head. So anyway, there were coconuts in the palm trees, and they were by the pool. And the next day, it was funny, people laying out by the pool, and one guy's laying there, and you look up, and there's like 5 or 6 coconuts. I'm thinking, man, if one of these breaks loose, it's not going to be nice, you know. So anyway, so Joe was a couple hours away, I think by driving, maybe 3 hours away. So they booked him a helicopter to get in. But you can't fly a helicopter in really high winds. So next thing, they scrambled for a jet, you know, private jet, because you can't go commercial when you're Joe. And we, you know, that quickly, how are you going to get on a flight and go through all that stuff? Then you're going to be at Fort Lauderdale Airport, which is another 45 minutes away. So he finally got there in a private jet. So it was cool, and he jammed with everybody. There were like 13 bands at this thing. It was really big. And everybody played mainly Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion, you know. That's why last week I thought the beat was... But it's not to Walk This Way. And everybody had a different beat. This one guy in my band, yeah, he's not a professional drummer, so he's just going. But it worked, you know. Joe looked at him at first and went, "What?" And then it worked. Right, fits to anything. So that was really cool. And then the next, before that was Vernon Reid. He's a really great guy, and he was actually working with everybody. This is at the Rock Fantasy Camp, by the way. If you think if you think it's just some jam somewhere, it's a Rock Fantasy Camp. And Vernon Reid was great. He worked with everybody. If the song was something wrong, like a chord or two, you know, tempo was wrong, so he'd work with the band. So he took a lot of time, you know. And then so that was good. And Tico was great. You know, actually, after all these years, I never met Tico Torres. And we have played gigs together. There was one show in Europe. I don't know where it was, but Monsters of Rock. And it was Bon Jovi. And I don't know if we were second underneath them or third. But underneath us, this is in the 80s, was Metallica, believe it or not. I've got the poster, framed poster they gave us in the other room. And we were above Metallica, which is amazing, you know. So it was a really cool camp, and we just got back yesterday. It took us 11 hours to get back from Florida. You fly Fort Lauderdale up to Charlotte. That's kind of out of the way. And then it's another 4.5 hours from Charlotte to San Diego, which where Lala and I fly into. So that was quite a trip. I'm tired. Then I come home and I play for you guys. See, I got my new shirt on. The Drum Monster shirt. New shirt for 2022. That's good. I'm hesitating on the year. We're gonna have these. I'm gonna have these available. Put it on my Facebook thing here probably tomorrow. And it's a great shirt. It's really comfortable. It's soft. I feel like that guy that sells the pillows. It started with pillows and then everything else. Because also we have autographed heads, too. Check it out. These are cool. These are from Evans, man. They do such a good job. This stuff comes out great. And so we got the shirts and the heads. They'll be up there maybe by tomorrow. And if anybody wants to buy some, they're there, and if you order now, we'll get you a free pair of slippers. I'm only kidding, no slippers, but it's like this pillow guy, Hi, I'm Vinny Appice, and we have 100% Egyptian cotton T-shirts. We need to make sheets and all that stuff, too. Pillows and blankets. So anyway, so we just got back from that, and that was really a whole bunch of fun, and I got asked a whole bunch of questions. One of them was about Tony Iommi's book, because if you look or have read Tony Iommi's book, there's a picture of me all with white powder, not cocaine or anything like that, but baby powder all over my face. And everybody was asking, what happened, Picture was taken in the studio when we were recording. That was The Devil You Know, the last album we've done together with Ronnie singing. And Tony's a practical joker. I mentioned it before. So am I, but he's older than me, so he's a bigger joker. And so we record. We play in the studio together. And, I'm working up a sweat, as most drummers do. So I'm sweating. So I need a hair blower, and also I need a fan. See, I got a fan here on the side. It's a little fan. And I just need some air blowing across. And then when I'm finished, I like to dry my hair or my head at sweat, because that's the way Vinny gets sick. If I go out in the cold. I know some people could take a shower and go out in the cold weather, and the hair's all wet and stuff. And I can't do that. I can feel it already, So that picture, what that is I went to, there was a problem with the hairdryer. It was like a dual voltage because we were in England. Actually, we were in Wales, and it wasn't working correctly. So I had, Tony said, have Mike look at it, his tech. Okay. So I left him the dryer early in the morning, and then he said he fixed it, and he left it there. So after we played a couple takes, I take the hair dryer and I go dry my hair, and it's full of powder. I must say, that was an absolutely good one. And it went all over I was just completely, I looked like Casper the Ghost, So I decided, okay, let me walk in to the studio, open the door. It's Ronnie, Tony, and Geezer. And they all look, and they all just crack up laughing. This was like really, look at what he looks like. All over my shirt, So I was like, all right, I have to think of something to get Tony back, So I don't know what I did, but I must have did something. But that's one of the little stories behind that picture, if you look at that picture. So the last song you heard, I won't mention the title, but you do know it, and you know the band. And, oops, I almost mentioned. Hello, Lala. Can you scroll that down so I can see what I look like? So anyway, you can see Lala go into the chair and everything. Hi, Lala Lollipop. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
There she is. Oh, look at that. Now I can see the drums. So anyway, it's a very slow song, as you know. So sometimes it's harder to play the slow songs and keep them steady. I always mention steady because it's so important here, And so the way I approached that song was just to lock it in, and do certain little grace notes and things, like the one I just did there. What that was is it's like a little triplet pickup. If I open it up a little bit, slow it down. It's like we call it a grace note or a ghost note, but there's two lefts. And then when you put it together, that's your tempo. So I used a lot of those kind of grace notes, even on the beats. Like that. So you got this one, double left, and then you can play this one, which is a right left. Slow it down. See, and that's better if you're playing. Actually, it works in a lot of beats, both of these things, but it's better than just hitting just like straight. It sounds a lot better. It makes it a little bit more sparkly, Right? So but it's not this. It's not played powerfully. These notes like that. This is more of a melodic thing. So that's what's on a lot of that song. And then when you play something that's this tempo, really slow, when you do a fill, it's got to be in the pocket, We had a lot of talk on the camp about being in the pocket, especially with Vernon Reid and Tico Torres. So when you're doing the fill, you get down to the last, like Tom, this way, or the last part of the fill, you don't want to rush it, There's no need to rush. It's in the pocket. It's in time, Because I hear some guys going, and it falls apart a little bit. It's just got to be locked in and steady, And that's an easy fill. Even a more complicated, like. Hang on. That's it, locked in the pocket. That's a little bit of a simple one. More complicated. Right in the pocket. Everything's locked in the pocket. That's a good name for a song, Locked in the Pocket. Whose pocket? Not my pocket. So anyway, that's a couple of tips for playing slow. And what else? The other song was Last in Line, Sword in the Stone. That's what. Yeah, I like that song. I like those accents. Those are pushes. It's like the pushes on the end of 4. So it's 2, 3, 4. That, but you can do all sorts of fills to make that push like this. Another one. Yeah, when the pushes are on the ends, you can fill into them. A lot of guys just play the push. I like to do something else. All different ways you can do it. So, anyway, I'll tell you about these drums real quick. This is the greatest and latest set from Sawtooth, and it's a 6-ply hickory wood, which has a lot of sustain, nice warm tones, a lot of bottom end, as you can hear as best you can across the. And these sizes are 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. Bass drum's 24 by 14. And snare drum's a 6-inch by 14. I never used to like deep drums because they don't cut as much, but the snare drum is kicking ass. And this head's been on for probably 2 months, and I'm afraid to change it. Got a lot of crack to it, and this is an Evans heavyweight head on here. It just kicks ass. I'm not going to change it and see what happens. These are all G2 heads too, and the snare drum and the toms have a dual 45-degree angle, and that's the way it's cut on the shell where the skin sits, and that's giving it the sustain and the nice tone too. And everything else is the hoops at 3mm die cast, make it strong. Because I hit a lot of rim shots on the snare. Those are all rims. If I didn't hit the rims, it'd sound a little softer like this. See, it's quieter when you hit the rims on the snare. Luckily, all my career, I'm able to hit the rims, because of the music I played and the bands I played with. But there's 2 different sounds like that. So these are really strong hoops too, and the lugs are all die-cast chrome steel lugs. So it's a great set, and I love the color. Like I said before, it's like chocolatey, kind of burgundy, and chocolate syrup and cake and cake and chocolate pudding. I love that stuff. I can't eat it. Heidi knows. Heidi's watching. Sugar. Remember that song? The Archies. Somebody must have had diabetes in that song to write a song like that. Sugar. Okay. So, anyway, we're going to take some questions from you guys. Lala's going to read them because I can't see them, nor can I hear them.
I have to yell at you.
Yeah. Okay.
What hardware do you use with your kit?
This hardware is made by Chromacast, which is the say you got Chromacast hardware here, Sawtooth drums there. But Sawtooth makes basses, guitars. They make so much stuff. Check out the website Chromacast and sawtoothworld.com. And this is Chromacast stuff, you know. And now that you can see that lever right there, that lever, when you loosen it, you can go up and down and side to side, all in one shot. Whereas a lot of the other stands and makers of the stands, there's two wing nuts, one to go up and down and the other wing nut to go side to side. A lot of times if I want to adjust it while we're playing, man, I just get up and go, boop, move it, and then lock it in, you know. So this is great hardware. Hi-hat stand, this is Sawtooth as well. I mean, Chromacast as well. And then the pedals are Chromacast pedal. This is what this guy looks like here. Take it off, take it off, take it off. It's a, you know, it doesn't look extremely different from every other pedal you've seen, but it kicks ass, this pedal. It's very strong. And I got the spring very tight, as you can see all the energy that's in it when you hit it like that. Wood chips falling out, all that stuff. And I haven't broken one of these pedals yet. So I did break off the beater one time. That was it. So that's it. All the cymbal stands are that. The tom stands are Chromacast as well. So you can get everything up at the Chromacast site and check out the Sawtooth drums. There's another set of drums called the Command Series, which is cheaper set. And I've been using those for about 5 years, and they sound great, and they record great. They got a great tone to them, and that's made from poplar wood. So check that out as well. It's a great company. They make everything, and Joe Fuco, the owner, is very passionate about he's a drummer too. So that's why we're able to do this every week. You guys watching, other people watching, really appreciate it. And it's a great proactive company. And we're going to be at the NAMM show. Last time we were at the NAMM show, the last NAMM show, we kind of got in trouble because I played too loud and the sound police kept coming over.
They sure did all the time. I think they wrote you up.
I said, how am I supposed to play a Black Sabbath song like without a little bit of volume, you know? But they kept coming over. They were kind of laughing too because it's true. And we're going to be at the new date is June 3rd, I believe. It's only a 3-day event here in L.A. So we're going to see what happens. But there was like a nonstop party by the booth, you know. All the gear's there, all the guitars, basses, all the drums, and there's always somebody there playing. You know, we had a little bit of a band. I had Sean McNabb on bass and Craig Goldie on guitar, and we all switched around. We played some good, cool stuff, you know. We played, well, for me, some Dio and Sabbath and all that. So anyway, that's the answer to that question. Let's have another one.
Okay. Another one. Okay. What's the setup with the hi-hat placement? They wanted to know about that.
Well, hi-hat placement, what I do with these hi-hats is I keep it at a certain height. And the height is I don't know, what is that, about 8 inches over the snare. I like to do this. If it's too high, it's hard to do that. What that is 1 E and a 2. 1 E and a 2. Bass drums with the right hand. 1 E and a 2. See? That's the same thing fast, obviously. And I like to do a lot of fills on the hi-hat. Now you play. It's a cool. It's another like door to go to, different sound. So I do that. It's about 8 inches ahead, and then I keep it open about, what is that? Like a thickness of a finger. It's open. I don't keep it all the way open because I like to play fast. When I'm doing something like this, which is kind of like a double bass thing, it keeps the time. And then the trick is I cut the rod usually goes up a bit more, like to here. So since I play at my height, which is medium low, I cut that. We cut the rod, and the reason for that is first of all, it's easier and faster not to have that weight on the snare, not on the snare, on the stand. And the other reason, if you got a setup like this with two toms, you don't want to get killed on your wrists with the rod. It's because it'll be sticking up more too. So I get the height. I get about enough click that way. It's not opening that much, as you can see. You get a lot of open hi-hat. You know who that is. So that's what I do, and then I cut that rod off, Mainly for the speed, but mainly when I use drums over here, I don't want to kill my wrists. So, okay, let's take another question.
Is a clear coat better than a coated drum skin?
You know what? I used to not like clear heads because they dent in, but now they're so strong. These are G2 Evans, and I like them because they sustain more. There's a little bit of verb on the upper mics there, but it depends how you play. That's what playing an instrument is. You got to experiment with the instrument. Same thing with amps and basses and guitars and all the amps and keyboards, I guess, too. You experiment with different things to see what you like, how it feels, and how it sounds. Because you want to be able to develop a sound. That's the hardest thing in playing, is developing a sound where somebody goes, oh, I know that sounds like Alex Van Halen. His snare drum was way up, and well, that sounds like John Bonham. His bass drum wasn't muted and didn't sound like a pillow in it. Speaking of pillows, again, there was no pillows so much in Bonham's thing. There was like two heads and a mic in the front. This one's got a lot of sustain too, because there's only a little pad in there for the microphone. That's why it sounds big. See? So that's the hardest thing, is to develop your sound. On the snare drum, I'm using a heavyweight Evans, which is a Whitehead. And the Whitehead, wasn't that a teenage blackhead thing? Anyway. The snare drum, this heavyweight head, has a dot underneath. So I used to use the dots, and I liked them. Now I'm into these heads, too. So experiment with them. And if you get cheap clear heads, you're probably going to dent them. But if you look, I've been playing this set for quite a number of weeks, and there's no dents in them. Even though I'm hitting them hard. There's no dents in them. Very few. There's one little one. That's it. And that's because I'm hitting them right. And even though I play with the butt end, I'm not denting these out like really bad. Because once you start denting them, they get muted and they don't sound good anymore. As a kid, when I didn't have the money to go buy heads all the time, and Carmine wouldn't give me any, no, he did. Is the old trick of taking the head off, and it's dented, and then putting a lighter underneath it to heat it, and it retracts, I guess. And it still sounds like shit. So that didn't do much. Okay, next question.
Did the floor, Tom, get a stain on it when you're eating the tacos for lunch at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp?
You see that picture I posted? It's Greg Potter, who's an amazing drummer. He does the Buddy Rich thing, and he sounds like Buddy Rich. It's like, whoa. And we had a great laugh together. And Kathy Rich was there, Buddy's daughter, and Greg's. Are they married?
Yes.
They are?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay. They're married. So how come she didn't change her name to Kathy Potter? Hey, the greatest drummer ever. You might as well keep that last name. It's cool. But anyway, there was tacos being made, and somehow we were late to the party, and there was some tacos left, but there were nowhere to sit, because this was a big camp. So Greg comes, come in my room, come in my. Okay, so they had a floor tom-tom in front of the drums they were using as a percussion. So we just made it a nice table. You could adjust it. It can go up and down, and you want to play while you're eating your taco, you could play. So we didn't spill anything. I don't know if any cheese got within the rim, like you ever take the rim off and there's all wood chips inside, between the skin and the rim. So, yeah, so it's funny. So let's take some pictures of this. It's pretty cool. I don't know if I've ever ate on a floor tom. I've eaten on a snare, while I'm sitting here, but not on the floor tom. Maybe one show we can do how to eat on your drum set. Do something like that.
Soup.
Oh, soup would be deadly. Okay. Take another question, and then let's go eat.
Yep.
Okay. Got a question?
Okay. Can you tell about the story when Ronnie had to talk a man down from the water tower?
Oh, shit, man. I forgot about that. Yeah. What was that? Okay. What happened was, this is with Black Sabbath when we were doing, I think it was Heaven and Hell Sabbath. And we flew into Burbank in California here in the Valley. And Wendy called Ronnie on the phone. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? I hear Ronnie like walking around like, not calm. Let's put it that way. So what happened was some kid climbed up a water tower and was threatening to jump off because he was listening to Man on the Silver Mountain. Go figure. And unless Ronnie came there and was able to talk to him. So we're waiting for the luggage to arrive on the baggage carousel, and the cars were outside, and Tony and Giza got in the car. And then I went with Ronnie. I said, I'll go with you, man. We got the luggage, and we left in a car and drove up to this mountain where we got mountains in Burbank where this kid was. So we did that. And then actually we went halfway up, and then Ronnie had to get in a Jeep with somebody, and they drove him up. And he had to talk to this kid and talk him out of jumping off and killing himself. And he did. Ronnie did. And the kid came down. And he came down from there, the water tower, and then he tripped, and he slid all the way down the mountain anyway. No, I'm kidding. No, he talked him down, and that was the end of the story. But that was crazy, Just got off a plane, then you got to do that. One time we got off a plane, we flew in from England, and, that took 10 hours, 11 hours to get in. And Ronnie and I are at the LAX, and we're waiting for the bags, We did a lot of stuff hands-on. Even Ronnie was like that. He was Ronnie James Dio. He waited and got his bag as well. And unless we had handlers and stuff, which was a lot of the times. And I look at this guy back then. This is 92. This bald head, real skinny guy, and he's got two bumps in his head, like horns. And back then, you didn't see that. Now you see that with people's art that they do on their bodies, with the ears and piercings and things like that. But back then, nobody saw it. So I thought, Ronnie, look at this guy. I think we flew here with the devil. This guy looked like the devil. And I've never seen anything like it. Ronnie, too, he freaked out, so freaky to see that on a plane. Okay, anyway, that concludes another episode of Behind the Kit, even though the picture we posted this week looks like behind the bars. But thank you for watching, and I'll be back next week. And then next weekend in Texas will be 3 last-in-line dates. We got Dallas, what is that place called?
Boda, B-O-D-D-A.
Boda, never heard of that. Boda, B-A-D-O.
Something like that.
B-O-D-D-A.
B-O-D-D-A.
It's on our
Something
site.
like that.
Yeah, and then Houston. So we'll be playing, and so check that out. That's the next to last group of dates we're doing before Vivian goes out with Def Leppard, so because they're starting up with that summer tour. Then we'll be back in September and stuff. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll put a link up for the shirts and the drum head. If you guys are interested, check it out. And thank you, ChromaCast. Thank you, Sawtooth. Check out the site and all the cool drums. And you could order these drums in any configuration. You can get 1 tom, you can get 2, you can get 6, you can get 8, And it's really, really great sounding drums. So anyway, you guys be safe, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks again.